Hello, and welcome to another episode of Yell Fire Conversations to Combat the Lie of White Supremacy. This is season 2. Welcome to season 2 of Yell Fire. I'm so excited. This season, it's going to be a 10 episode, as far as I know at the moment. It's going to be a 10 episode season. I've got 4 episodes lined up, and shaping up to be a listen to black women season. That seems to be the theme, which I'm super excited about. Here in the United States, black women have always been kind of paving the way, paving the way and helping all of us understand that what benefits the least of us benefits everybody. So they, in terms of voting, they vote in everyone's best interest by huge margins, especially in this era of authoritarianism, like open and overt authoritarianism. Black women have just been saying, excuse us, we know some stuff about this, and don't vote for that guy. So, whatever's happening in the Trump era, it is not the fault of black women. And, I see memes and things about, there's this famous meme of black women on a rooftop, sipping coffee or tea or whatever, and kind of watching the cityscape burn in the distance because, they've been trying to warn us for decades and decades and decades, and they're like, we told you, fuck around and find out. This is what happens. So anyway, that's the theme, the kind of through line for at least the first 4 episodes. Hopefully, like all 10 episodes, we'll be listening to black women. My first guest, I'm so excited, is Sharon Hurley-Hall, one of my favorite people, one of the voices that I really listen to when it comes to anti-racism. Sharon is the creator of Sharon's Anti-Racism newsletter. So I'll have a link to subscribe to her newsletter. She's the author of the book I'm Tired of Racism, a very excellent book on, it's drawing her own personal experiences of racism in her Caribbean home, Barbados, in I think she lived in Paris for a while. In Europe, in the U.S., all of the places where the lie of white supremacy has hit. She is also, she works with introverted women to find their quiet power. She describes herself as an introvert. She has a powerful voice, so she's, she's using that introvert power. She's maximizing that. So anyway, excited for you to listen in on my conversation with Sharon. I'd invite you to also subscribe to my the Substack newsletter if you don't already. Some extra features there where I'm going to be highlighting black women from history. This month, or this episode, it's going to be Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, who I had not heard of before, a few weeks ago, but very influential in the suffrage movement, the women's suffrage movement, and in the ending of slavery, the enslavement of black people in the U.S. So she's very influential in that. She delivered a speech that I want to highlight real quickly, in which she said the following: "Justice is not fulfilled so long as woman is unequal before the law. We are all bound up together in one great bundle of humanity, and society cannot trample on the weakest and feeblest of its members without receiving the curse in its own soul." I think we are living that right this moment. So anyway, long introduction, but it's a new season. Wanted to kind of give you the lay of the land. I'm excited for this conversation with Sharon. And yeah, welcome back to Yellfire. Well, Sharon Hurley-Hall, welcome to Yellfire. I'm so excited about this conversation. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I know you in a way that I don't know all of my guests. Maybe it's reading your newsletter a little more attentively than I read most newsletters. I don't know. Anyway, wonderful to have you. Thanks for joining me. Um, so yes, Sharon Hurley-Hall. Let's have a little introduction. Tell us about yourself, what you do, and all. However you want to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Craig. Where do I even start? Okay, so I am a former journalist, former university lecturer, a former freelance writer, currently an activist, author, educator. I published I'm Tired of Racism, True Stories of Existing While Black in 2022. In 2020, as you can see, I did not plan this because I'm all over the place in terms of the timeline. In 2020, I launched my newsletter, Sharon's Anti-Racism newsletter.
Hmm.
Um, and currently, in addition to my anti-racism activism, which I extended by launching the Share Anti-Racism community in 2024, I am also on a mission to help introverts achieve impact without exhaustion, introverts and change makers.
Yes, awesome. Well, good. That's an excellent place to start. So I want to kind of dig into. It feels like we're on similar paths. I'm a former. I have a lot of. I'm a former pastor, former this and that, and yeah, currently a writer and author. Similar path. I want to hear a little more about growing your business, your offerings, and your set of the how your skills and just kind of the stars are aligning as you bring kind of the writer part of you, the teacher part of you, the introvert part of you, how those are all fitting together. Yeah, let's start there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's interesting. And I'm sure you'll relate to this. After you've seen a few revolutions around the sun, lots of things start coming together. And so I hit a point in 2020. By that point, I had already effectively had two careers. Um, I started as a writer and journalist, trade
Hmm.
journalist, did most of that work in the UK, some in the Caribbean as well.
Okay. Hmm.
And then I started teaching journalism and developing journalism courses at Coventry University. And then, as I said, I became a freelance writer basically so that I could spend more time with my family. I had a young child.
Hmm.
Um, in the middle of all of that, we emigrated. We left the UK, returned to the Caribbean where I had grown up,
Okay.
and and then I was there minding my own business, writing about digital marketing, and I had always been interested in anti-racism. I lived in France for a year. I experienced the most egregious racism, and so made a decision on the basis of that what kind of person I wanted to be and how I wanted
Mm.
to treat others.
Hmm.
Um, and then later, I was doing a master's in media and culture, and I wrote about colorism in the late 90s.
Okay.
So even though most people know my work from the last 5, 6 years, it was not necessarily as new as it appeared at the time. But I got
Yeah.
to that point in 2020. George Floyd was murdered. I was enraged and exhausted at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
wrote two pieces. One was called While Black, Thoughts on the Assumption of Wrongness, and the other was
Hmm.
called I'm Tired of Racism, which became the title of my book.
Yeah.
And around that time, I had an epiphany, which was, I can't have this skill in writing and teaching. simply so that I can tell people to add pop-ups to their website. Right? That can't be what my life is about. That's not what
Yeah,
this
no,
gift is
that's
for,
sounds familiar.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I started the newsletter, and so I wrote the book, and so I started talking more about racism and anti-racism based on my experience living and experiencing it in England, in France, in the Caribbean, and on many, many visits to the US,
Hmm.
among other places. And I struck a chord with people, and I thought, okay, yeah, this is clearly what I'm meant to be doing, and I kept doing it.
Hmm. Hmm.
What most people did not realize is that I've always been an introvert. Speaking out
Hmm.
is not necessarily something that comes naturally to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I write. I'm generally by nature quite quiet.
Hmm.
Um, but my writing allows me to make an impact.
Yeah,
And so the thing that I've come to more recently is showing other people who might be like me that this is something that you can actually do. And you
yeah.
can maintain that balance. You can say what you have to say, and you don't have to wear yourself out doing it either.
Right, 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 right. Awesome. A little later, I want to get more into the introversion of it all, and what leading from that place and help assisting people looks like. So I want to get into that a little later. But so I wonder if you're comfortable talking about mentors and coaches that you might have been because I'm also working with a coach, Aaron Kareen, right
Wow,
now, and
fabulous.
I know it's been super. It's been yeah, because I definitely lean pretty hard towards introversion. I like public
Mhm.
speaking, but it takes I need to gear up for that.
And then you need to recover afterwards, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
get that.
yeah. But um, and tell me if I'm wrong. I've seen a really cool acceleration in your work and your business and like in the scope of your business. And can you tell me a little bit like how that has come about and
Sure.
who's
This
worked
I
with
want to
you
give
over
a
the
shout out. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Yinka Yawala,
yes,
who is
okay.
the cash flow queen. And I started working with her about a year and a half ago. Because the thing is, you can be there doing what you have to do, and you're not necessarily getting it out into the public
Yeah.
in the right way,
Hmm.
or in a way that allows you to make the impact and receive the compensation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that has actually been transformational, in the way that I talk about some of the things that I do. Because I was doing this stuff. I was doing this stuff. It was available,
Hmm.
but putting it together so it made sense, so that there was some sort of structure to what I was offering. I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
even before I came on this call, I was doing some more tweaking and being able to have conversations in a room with people who are building businesses while making an impact,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
understanding the struggles that we share, and understanding the techniques we can use to move forward. Um,
Yeah.
just being in that space, because as you mentioned Erin Corinne, who, she said something a couple of years ago. She talked about the change we see and the change we seed, and that has
Mm.
kept resonating with me. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that idea of seeding change. And so, you learn a lot from all these communities that you're in.
Hmm. Hmm.
I took part in one of Erin's, her summer, can't remember what it was called, replenish program. I
Yeah.
took part
Right.
in
Right.
that,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah. Yeah.
great.
Hmm.
Um, right now, I've just been doing with Equa Kant Speaker Visibility Challenge, which I've
Oh,
been doing
okay.
over the last week.
Wow.
And you'll have seen me talking about some of the things that I talk about, and also teach about. And it's a joy really to bring all these things together, and to
Yeah.
work with coaches to make the best of what you have to offer. It's
Yeah.
not that these things weren't there, but sometimes you need, and it's helpful to have an external perspective on how you talk about these things, how you shape those discussions.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean we're not competent and knowledgeable, but sometimes we're, what one of my coaches says, you can't see the picture when you're inside the frame, and a lot of us are in the frame,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. 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 Well, and it's been, for me, it's been an epiphany value my work and value my worth and, shit, like as a pastor, especially in the denomination I worked in, I was used to a low salary, and that's what it was, and just kind of, and in my business, I've gotten to this plateau, and I'm like, well, I guess that's what it is, and Aaron comes along and says, you don't have to settle for that, and you can live your values and
You'll
yeah,
get paid.
yeah, exactly. So,
I think that is pretty much what Yinka says. It's about, and the thing is that when people with a social justice mindset are remunerated appropriately, then that has a ripple effect, because then there's so much more. We
yeah.
don't tend to be in it just to enrich ourselves, so there's nothing wrong with proper compensation,
Hmm.
but we spread it out into the community. We support others, and it's
Yeah.
and we live our values in that way. And so yeah, that is the annoying thing, I think, about doing activism work,
Yeah.
right? Is that there are a lot of people that want you to do it for the culture. But as my
Right.
sister Lisa Hurley says, do it for the culture and the coins,
Yeah.
right? The culture and the coins,
I
right?
like that. The culture and the coin. I like it. Okay. I'm gonna
Yeah, yeah.
gonna use that.
So, you
Uh,
definitely have to, and it's a mindset shift within yourself as well, in
hmm
order to say, but actually, I was in a conversation with someone on LinkedIn today. And, that person mentioned a third party who was saying, when you compensate me, it's not just about me turning up and speaking for an hour,
hmm hmm
right? It's about all that I bring to the table in the several decades of experience in several countries, in several,
Yeah. Yeah.
right, in several milieu.
hmm
There's so much more than what appears to be what you see.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I resonate with all of that really a lot. I want to ask one more kind of businessy question, and then we'll put our political science. We'll get into our political science mode and talk about what's happening in the world. But so around introversion, you're kind of leaning into that, and I'm wondering. What are some introvert superpowers you're tapping into these days and you're like learning about yourself and
Well,
then sharing with your clients?
as a writer yourself, you'll know that we tend to be pretty good with the written word. We because we listen and notice a lot more than we speak.
Hmm.
Tend to be quite good at synthesizing information.
Hmm.
Often, though not always, have good emotional intelligence. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
it's not a foregone conclusion, but
Right, right, right.
because people be peopling. But um, yeah, so it's basically leaning into that, and also just showing, people. I often say to people, right? You see me out there, but it started with me
Hmm.
writing a cathartic essay. That's how it started. I was
Huh.
writing for myself first.
Yeah.
It turned out to resonate with people, and then I kept doing it. So, my
Right.
newsletter is in its sixth year now, right? But and yeah,
Hmm.
it's very hard for me to separate all the different aspects of myself, because
Yeah,
we are the
sure.
people that we are. So
Yeah.
yes, I'm an introvert, and I have been an introvert before I knew the language of introversion. I
Yeah.
discovered in the last couple of years that I'm very likely autistic as well.
Okay. Yeah.
I, right? I'm a person that's lived in many places. I'm a person that's had been lucky enough to have a good education. I've been a writer since I don't know, my teens, I guess. And so it's
Hmm.
very difficult, correct, to like separate the different aspects because there's so much overlap in all those identities, you know?
Yeah. Sure. 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 Um, but I so appreciate how you're bringing your full self and the educated part of yourself and helping others who women who are introverts, especially from what I understand, and then yeah, offering them some guidance, and so yeah, just kudos for that.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
the work that you're doing, and I notice it and and appreciate
Well, that's good to know.
it. um, yeah, and it's just exciting to see, because I've been kind of paying attention for, since the book came out for sure, and a little before that. So yeah, just to see how things are going, it's pretty cool. So,
Yeah, I think, many of us have many strings to our bow,
hmm
you know, many things that we could do.
yeah,
Doesn't mean that we have to do everything.
right, right, right.
And I think I'm kind of at the phase of my life where I think, okay, well, what are other ways that I can give back? And so, part of it is through the anti-racism work and,
Hmm.
the community and so on. And part of it is by being an example and a mentor for others who might be like me and haven't a clue where to start.
Hmm.
Don't know what it looks like to be an introverted leader, an
Yeah.
introverted Black woman, you
Mm.
know, being unapologetic about her introversion. So,
Yeah.
I think that's another thing that I'm here to do.
Yeah. Good. 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 All right, we're going to be armchair political scientists here for a little while. So, um, so yeah, I've been interested in people who live outside of the United States, interested in your perspective on on how it's going because we are in a time frame where there's very open, very aggressive racism from the top of from the Oval Office, from the pinnacle of leadership. So what what does that look like from the Caribbean, from where you've been sitting? What
Yeah.
are the conversations that you're having about, oh, like when you pay attention to the U.S., what's what what does that
Well,
look
you
like?
know, the conversations range from what has that fool done now,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
To, more recently, certainly at the time of recording, there was a lot of activity in Venezuela, which is,
Hmm.
relatively speaking, on our doorstep,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you know, I- the whole there are two things that I actually want to say about this. One is that it's not just the US, because of course you have the rise of reform in the UK, you have right-leaning parties across Europe, and all of that is extremely worrying, and it speaks to some sort of larger plan at work,
Hmm. Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
for
Can you
sure.
say
Then,
a little
yeah,
bit? So I read this in your latest post, I think, but reform in the UK. What does that mean? Like, it sounds bad.
reform, yeah, reform is led by someone called Nigel Farage.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The history of that party, the lineage goes back to things like the UK Independence Party, the
Hmm.
British National Party, which was a fascist party,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It's all about anti-immigration, Britain for the British,
Right.
some guardrails around who can be British and who cannot be British or
Yeah.
English,
Yeah.
even better. And
Right.
and and you know, he in particular is a great admirer of 47. So, that's not good
Hmm.
news.
Yeah.
And so you tend to hear some of that racist rhetoric permeating discussions at the highest levels there as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And so, from the point of view of us looking at what's happening in the US, in one sense, sometimes it seems unbelievable. But then on the other hand, for a country that is founded in genocide and oppression, maybe it's all too believable that this would happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it, it was avoidable,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
but it wasn't avoided.
Yeah, especially here in the US, it seems like it was extreme. Like especially Felon 47 2.0 was extremely avoidable. It seems like if the information ecosystem was different, if more people were paying attention, he would have been the obvious and overwhelming wrong choice for a second term. So, yeah.
Yeah, from the outside, it's hard to see how someone who has actually broken so many actual laws. I mean,
Yes.
let's talk about, January 6th,
Mm-hmm.
right? Treason,
Yeah.
right? Undermining the
Yeah,
Republic,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so, so what is difficult to understand is how that person was able to remain in a position to get back into the Oval Office.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And yeah, and it's the fact that there is arrant racism is not a surprise. It has always been there. The
Right.
fact,
Right. Right.
the fact of oppression, the fact of condoning genocide, all of those things, those are not news to Black people, to people of the global majority at
Yeah.
all,
Yeah. Yeah.
at all, at all, at all. That is that is the history, and that is the
Right.
history of many countries. It's not only the
Mm-hmm.
history of the US.
Right. Yeah.
So, that is not a surprise.
Yeah.
Um, and I suppose actually the fact that for 70 million people that was not a deal breaker. I
Yeah.
mean, he got in the first time, so clearly that's not a surprise either.
Right. Yeah.
I I don't know what is appalling is that the people who should know better didn't take the steps to make sure that he was never in a position to get back in. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean that the problem would have gone away because he is one person and there are a lot of other people supporting that racist
Mm-hmm.
edifice,
Right. Right.
right?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, and it
yeah,
feels what you said about kind of it's a global phenomenon, and it's been kind of in the works. Like I think of the Supreme Court in the United States, and how the right people were put in place to just enable all of
yep.
this and say, oh,
It's a
we
long
were
con.
we were originalists, but not anymore.
It is a
um,
long con. That's what
yeah,
it
it's
is,
a
Greg. A long
exactly.
con.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of leads into my next question. So, white progressives here in the U.S. are anxious as we watch, and I think globally, uh, white Europeans are probably
Hmm.
very anxious about this. The breaking up of the international rules-based order, that's causing a lot of anxiety. We're watch like so. Gentle listener, we're recording this as 47 is making moves to annex Greenland. You know what? So who knows where that will be when this lands. But anyway, uh, so what? So the rules based order
Of sorts.
was kind of has a little bit of some not just racist overtones, undertone. It was built by American white Americans, white Europeans to, and yes, the global majority was invited, like I'm thinking of the UN, the global majority was invited to the table, but it's
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
some
As I said
big
I
restrictions.
said in a very recent post, if you invite people to the table but you're not listening, what's the point of them being at the table?
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah. So
But
so I've heard Gillian Marcel and you talk a little bit about this or write a little bit about this, and I'm just interested in, yeah, what is your take on kind of this breakup and what could come afterwards
well,
if
here's the thing. If you support uh if you support an order that has grades of humanity, this is kind of where you end up. If you're not bothered about people doing bad things in the Sudan, in Congo, in Palestine,
hmm
right?
hmm yeah, yeah.
If you're showing that, 47 can go into Venezuela and do the things that, let's face it, members of the global South would be slated if they did the same thing.
Yeah.
If you're right, then of course he's going to think, oh well, okay, now I want Greenland and I'm having it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if you don't stop, it's like bullies, right? If you don't stop them in their tracks early, then they keep doing what they're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and and so, but I mean, I think also, the whole of the world order, the economic system is not set up to benefit members of the global South.
hmm
In fact,
hmm
if anything, it was set up to continue to extract from the global South so that the global North could continue to benefit.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, and and that is underpinned by prohibitive interest rates, um, different grades of countries in terms of what they're allowed to borrow,
hmm
um,
hmm hmm
harsher rules and regulations. I mean, I'm not an economist. You have to talk
Right.
to Dr. Gillian Marcel about
Yes.
those
Yes.
things. But for sure, um, as someone that I spent part of my childhood, most of my childhood in the Caribbean. And so you'd have the World Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank and all of those
hmm
banks, and they'd come in and they'd lay down rules about what you could do and what you couldn't do, how you
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
build,
Yeah.
how you shouldn't build, and all that kind of thing. And the reason that so many formerly colonized countries are in debt is because of that particular world order.
hmm
And
hmm
it's actually immoral. It's immoral, Greg.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
come into a region, you extract all the resources, you leave them in poverty, and
Yeah.
then you slate them for being in poverty. How does that make sense?
Yeah.
How does that
Yeah.
make sense? And that is how it's set up.
hmm
That is
hmm
why, there are, different levels of clout, even within an organization like the UN. That is
Yeah.
why
Exactly.
the countries with the most financial muscle can browbeat other countries into taking certain stances.
hmm
The whole
hmm
thing is a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. I look at history and I see, well, yeah, I see how um, eras like this are there. Change happens, positive change happens after terrible times like we're in at the moment, but they always in the U.S. and other places, they always center white comfort, and that's been the cycle, and it's been the reason why kind of very tiny incremental change happens that that white people can get on board with, and I keep hoping. I don't I don't hope for things to get a lot worse. But I keep hoping events like this can create momentum for change that decenters whiteness. So I don't know how close we are to that, but
Yeah, I don't know. You know, that would require a lot of people to be comfortable giving up what they consider to be power, wealth, and prestige,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and because there are enough resources on the planet for everyone. Nobody
Right.
should be without food. Nobody should be without shelter. Nobody should be without health care, America.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yep.
so, but where we are because of hoarding by the super rich, and it's on an individual basis and it's also on a country basis.
Hmm.
For
Hmm.
example, I remember that when during the COVID pandemic, right, I was in Barbados,
Hmm.
and there had been an arrangement made to get, I can't remember now whether it was PPE or vaccinations. Some of
Hmm.
them were supposed to come from the US. And at a certain point, the administration said, no, we're not sending them to anybody. You all can suffer.
Wow.
We're not sending them out to your asshole country.
Yeah.
Right? You
Yeah.
know,
Wow. Yeah.
and
That
so
sounds right.
uh, there are nations that are in that kind of position.
Right. Yep.
There are nations that are put in a position of supplicants when really, reparations should be paid for all that has been extracted from them over the
Hmm.
centuries.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
mean, can I talk about Haiti?
Yeah.
Everybody talks
Of
about the
course.
poverty in Haiti,
Hmm.
but one of the reasons that Haiti is poor is because it was punished for seeking freedom and was
Yeah.
paying money to France until I believe 2005, 2006,
Oh my
right? I
gosh.
mean,
Wow.
right? It was for quite a long time.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so, once France had extracted its pound of flesh, there wasn't much left for developing the country. And
Yeah.
so you see that pattern in different ways in different countries. That is an
Hmm.
extreme example, but I'm sure it's not the only one.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. Yeah. So, so we all have a lot of work to do.
We all have a lot of work to do. And
Yeah.
I we don't do this work without some hope of change,
Yes. Well,
right?
that's my exact
Right.
question. Where are you finding hope? Yeah.
I'm finding hope in the number of people that are working on this. I'm finding hope in knowing that as much as some people want to make sure that people of the global majority don't thrive. And by the way, in so doing or making it worse for everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
As long
100%.
as much as there are those people, there are also many other people who don't want to see us go down that path, who don't want to see us go backwards. And some of
Yeah.
us are actually working to do something about it.
Yeah.
So my hope is that more people will be moved to do something about it, because
Mm-hmm.
that is how you resist oppression.
Yeah.
That's the lesson of history, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
People have to rise up. People have
Yeah.
to work together. People have to do what they can do in their particular sphere
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
undermine the things that are not right, the things that are oppressive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what we have to do. And I'm not calling on everybody to be out in the street with placards or whatever. I'm not
Yeah.
calling for that. I'm just saying do what you can do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
My lane is writing and community building. Somebody else might be out there making signs and marching.
Right.
Someone is out there having conversations. Somebody is reaching people at the highest level. Do what you can do, but
Yeah.
whatever you do, don't do nothing.
Yes, exactly. I love it. Whatever you do, don't do nothing. Um, yeah, listener, we're recording this the day after Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I reflected yesterday on this is also recently after several shootings, one killing of unarmed white people in Minnesota and elsewhere. Um, I'm wondering if this is getting the attention of white people saying, wow, and I thought about the Martin Niemöller, that poem where, they came for people.
First
So
decade,
they're
yeah.
coming. Now they're coming for us. So maybe we should pay attention. So and
Uh, it,
that's a jaded view and a kind of based in self-interest. But I wonder. I feel like there's got to be a turning point at some point where kind of and even a tipping point where things change, and
but
I keep
where,
waiting for that moment.
yeah.
And
It's funny you should bring that one up, actually. I think I recorded a little piece on that at the time. This coming out in my newsletter soon, because my take on it was, nobody should be killed like that.
yeah,
Uh, but also, is this what it takes to get attention? Why, so many
yeah,
people of the global majority, so many Black people have had the exact same thing happen to them, and nobody
exactly.
cared.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, exactly.
A lot of, well, no, let me not say nobody cared, because
Right.
obviously people cared, but it did not reach the radar of a lot of white folks,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know what the turning point will be. I know that there will be one.
Hmm.
I know that, these these people that want to go back to an older world order,
Hmm.
um, cannot be allowed cannot be allowed to get away with it.
Yeah,
But I
exactly.
don't know how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
I don't even know if the US is the US going to have elections again.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it
Yeah.
sounds I know it sounds a bit out there,
No,
but
it's certainly like
and
Trump doesn't
so,
want
if you've
elections,
then
that's
got a
for sure.
dictator, if you've got
Yeah.
a dictator, then if you've got a dictator and a zealot in the Oval Office, then what happens? I mean, we're already seeing it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
What happens if there are even fewer checks? There aren't
Right.
that many
Right,
now.
right.
They don't seem to be
Yeah.
working.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, one ray of hope that I have is that, the institutional guardrails have completely failed, for sure. But
Mm.
we still have freedom of speech, and I keep waiting for, and he's tried to curtail that too, and it has failed at that in a lot of ways. I mean, there's legacy media that is is bending the knee, but we don't have to. Nobody has to listen to legacy. Nobody has to pay attention to that. Barry Weiss does not matter. Sorry, Barry. Um, so yeah, I hold out. Some of the hope that I hold out is that we're you and I are free to have this conversation. It'll be found by people. It's not, some of the algorithms might not help us, but
We have
but
other ways.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Exactly.
I
Um,
think I think for sure, being in this sort of tech environment, which obviously also has its downsides.
mm,
I'm not sure that we need any more tech pros getting involved in running things, because I'm
right.
not sure that
Exactly.
they have the emotional intelligence or cultural formation to do something like that. But
Yeah.
that's aside. um, but I think because this technology exists, and because there are people that believe in getting information out, there will always be ways of getting information out there.
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
we have seen information come out from the places that are suffering the worst oppression.
Yeah.
There were people live streaming from Palestine during the ongoing genocide.
Yeah.
There have
Yeah.
been,
Yeah.
and from other countries,
Hmm.
right? And so the information cannot be hidden in the same way as easily as it could be hidden before.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I know that there are lots of people who are trying to make sure that information that is being hidden is being resurfaced elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so that's really, really important to keep to keep that access, to keep that information out there. So,
Yeah.
that is a ray of hope. That
Yeah.
is a ray of hope. And
Yeah.
you have to have a little bit of hope to keep doing the work, you
Absolutely.
know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I've found, um, yeah, just having purpose and, yeah, having these communities where I'm having conversations about this stuff and talking things through is a way of staying hopeful and even joyful at times. I can kind of live my life with a sense of joy and purpose, and even when the world is seems to be collapsing around me. So
I think finding joy in these times is also an act of resistance,
yeah, yeah, right
for
on.
sure.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if there's anything more you wanted to share, but really appreciate your time. It's really great to talk with you. Never, we've chatted. We've been in Zoom spaces together, larger groups, but this has been really great to have this conversation. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. And yeah, I think we need to keep having these conversations. So I
Yes.
appreciate having the chance to have that conversation and, it reaching the people that it needs to reach.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Hey, well, thanks for tuning in again to this episode of Yell Fire. Thanks again to my guest, Sharon Hurley-Hall. You can subscribe to her newsletter, subscribe to my newsletter, and wherever you're listening or watching this, please like and subscribe, comment, all of that stuff. So thanks again. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. And stay tuned. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Thanks.